Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I am going to be talking about the APS turret. In the most recent patch, the APS turret was nerfed right into the ground, very, very far underneath the soil, and now it just sucks. So, before it would just destroy any projectile all the time, and its cooldown, its cooldown is actually the same, but the cooldown would start as soon as you place it instead of as soon as it gets destroyed or something. And so in this video, I'm going to basically just have a rant about why I think this balancing choice was just a really bad decision, and a lot of different ways that it could have been balanced that I think would have made a lot more sense. So the way it was nerfed was that now, anytime it consumes any projectile, it takes up 40% of the APS turret's health. That's not 40% of its current health, so just 3 shots with anything, even the CL40 or the MGL32, is going to take out a full HP APS turret. And that just doesn't make sense to me, because, that's a huge leap, right? So, before CL40 and MGL32, wouldn't do anything to the APS turret, and you'd have to, tell your teammates to shoot it, or you'd have to melee it, or just play around it and stuff like that. Now, it's really, really, really easy to take out an APS turret with projectile weapons, almost easier than with hit scan weapons, because you don't have to aim at the thing, right? You just aim in the radius, and those projectile weapons are just going to destroy it. So this is, very, very good if you're a fan of the CL40 and MGL32, but it's bad for anyone that likes the APS turret. Now, there are multiple ways that I can think of that are much better ways of nerfing the APS turret if you want to nerf it. If you want to make it so that the CL40 or the MGL32 can get rid of it, then there's a couple of things you can do. One of them is just make it so that the APS turret, when it consumes a projectile or whatever, it does 40% of its current health. And that way, it's going to take many more shots for it to go away, and also you're probably going to have to melee the last bit of damage or something, because 40% of its current health, it's never going to get to 0%. So you're probably going to have to melee it, or one teammate's going to have to shoot it once with an AKM or an FCAR, and that will get rid of it. That's just one way I can think of. Another way I can think of is to ignore the 40% thing altogether, and just make it so that after you place the APS turret, that's not when the cooldown starts. The cooldown starts once it gets destroyed, so that you can't just have another one immediately ready to pop down. That would be another pretty solid way of nerfing it, and I don't see why that wouldn't happen. Another way you could do it is so that whenever it consumes a projectile, that starts some type of cooldown between when it consumes the projectile and when it can consume another one. So let's say you're shooting with the CL40, maybe you shoot it once, and let's say it starts a timer of 5 seconds, and then you can throw in 2 other CL40 grenades in there, and those will hit the people if they're standing next to the APS turret. It'll hit the APS turret as well, but once those 5 seconds are up and you shoot that 4th CL40 shot, then the APS turret destroys that projectile from the CL40 again. That's just another way of nerfing it. There is so many ways of nerfing the APS turret that didn't make it completely useless, which now it is. This is a game that doesn't have a crazy amount of players right now, right? Hopefully that changes at the Summer Games Fest and all that. That would be great. But right now, this game doesn't have a whole lot of players. And that means that people you go up against are probably going to know what they're doing, especially if it's in ranked. And no one's, if they can see the APS turret, no one's going to RPG an APS turret. So now it's, completely useless, because before, sure, they couldn't RPG the APS turret, but they also couldn't throw frag grenades or stuff like that into it. And now you kind of can, because those frag grenades are going to get the APS turret low as well. It's not a good idea to, but it's something that you can do. So the only situation where the APS turret could be possibly useful now is if there's a lot of smoke around, maybe even some gas around or something, obscuring vision, and someone accidentally RPGs the APS turret because they simply didn't see it. That's the only situation where this is going to be useful, and that's not going to be a very common situation, because the APS turret is extremely visible. It's got a whole outline on its radius and diameter and all that. It's very, very clear and easy to spot in most situations. Unless something's just blown up, or there's smoke somewhere, or gas somewhere, you're gonna see the APS turret, and if someone sees the APS turret, they're probably not going to RPG it. And that's like the one use case scenario it has now. It's not going to counter CL40, it's not going to counter MGL32, and, you know, people can still shoot it, same as before, so they can just fully get rid of it if they want to. But even if someone, like, throws 2 frag grenades in there, that APS turret is already going to be, like, 1 or 2 shots to eliminate. Like, yes, it gets rid of 2 frag grenades, but if I've got a CL40, I can just use 2 shots of that. Like, I really don't understand this nerf. It seems to me like there would have been so many other better options, and that the right one just wasn't picked. I kind of get the idea. They wanted to, like, make it so that you could use the CL40 and the MGL32 to get rid of it, but I feel like you could have done that other ways. I feel like it's just not the right way that it was done. So this is pretty much it. I did just want to have a little bit of a rant about it. APS turret kind of sucks now. Like, it was pretty strong before because you had to actually shoot the thing to get rid of it. And now if you've got an AoE weapon, you can just, like, shoot anywhere within the circle, which isn't hard to do, and then it will disappear. Or you can still shoot it normally as well. But it's going to be a lot easier to destroy now, since, like, every weapon is going to be able to destroy it, and also, like, projectiles can destroy it as well, which they couldn't before. Like, it's just kind of weird to me that the thing it's supposed to counter, which is projectiles, are the thing that can also destroy it now. So it's like a super duper weak counter because the things that it protects against, the things that it counters, destroy it. You know? Like, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. But yeah, I've talked long enough now. I just wanted to have a little bit of a rant about it. I don't think that this is the best way to go about the APS turret. Like, it was strong, the APS turret, but the medium definitely is the support class, and I don't think it was overpowered. I think if you had the MGL32 or the CL40, either you had to, like, melee that thing, play around it, which isn't hard, because they are AoE weapons, right? You can, like, shoot to the right of the sphere, and they're still gonna take splash damage if you're, like, hitting the opponents. Like, it wasn't hard to damage people, even if they were standing in an APS turret, because you just had to use the AoE from the CL40, the MGL32, right? I just don't really understand this one. I think there's been a lot of changes in this game that I haven't agreed with, and I know why this was changed, but I just really don't think this was the right way to go about it. And I do hope when Season 3 comes out, I really, really hope that a lot of the ways the kind of balancing for this game has gone starts to go the other way. I think there's been a very long history of stuff getting nerfed into the ground, and I would very much like it if that didn't happen. Like, the APS turret, I think, was in a very okay place. I really didn't think it was crazy overpowered, and now it's like, probably you really shouldn't be using it for the medium is how I would see it. Like, maybe go jump pad or zipline, or I don't know, just frag grenade and something else or whatever. But I would say probably don't be using the APS turret now, because A, someone can see it. If they see it, they're not going to be, you know, silly enough to throw something into it, like, for no reason. B, if they see it, they can just destroy it with anything. I don't know. I'm getting caught up in what I'm saying here. I think this was a pretty poor decision, and I'd like it if in Season 3, I'd really, really love to see in Season 3 all of these kind of poor nerfs, or all of these strong nerfs, rather, that we've been seeing kind of start getting reverted, and we start getting lots of strong buffs instead. That's just something that I would really, really like to see. I really hope that happens, because if it doesn't, then I don't think, with the way the current things are going, that it's going to be so fantastic for the game. I think making everything weaker is just going to make the game feel pretty bad, and they've done it again here with the APS turret. And so, yeah. Alternatively, on the other side, we did get the throwing knife buff. I'm aware of the throwing knife buff. I know that's there. That's great. But, like, I don't think that was a super strong weapon either. I mean, I don't think that was a super weak weapon, but again, I'm fine with buffs. If you'd want to buff whatever you want. I think that's fine. But nerfing the APS turret, I think, is just a little bit of a strange decision. But yeah, there you go. I've talked enough now. So thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. That is going to be it for this video. If you liked it, leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Farewell.